week from Tuesday, the mayor's election. We're going to elect a new mayor, potentially. Many of the Chicago unions are backing candidate Gery Chico in the race.
And here to talk to us about it, president and business manager of Local 150, it's James Sweeney. Thanks for coming in, Jim.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate you coming in. And I know last week we saw a little clip of you at a news conference where you endorsed Gery Chico, and you were particularly upset about kind of the tone and message of a Rahm Emanuel commercial, and you believed that he kind of called into question workers' approaches and attitudes about what they're doing.
I thought it demonized the city employees, which is very unfair, especially coming out of the blizzard and what we saw from their efforts to get the city back on track quickly. Police, fire, and city employees, from garbage men to my members that run those high lifts that have been digging out the streets for the last couple of weeks.
And you represent, your Local 150 represents 23,000 people, a sizable chunk of the voters here, heavy equipment operators, most of them. Labor unions, historically, the endorsement from your groups have historically been really powerful and meaningful to candidates. Governor Quinn would say you helped him in the last election, I'm sure. Why is it Gery Chico, the candidate for you, and what is it about Rahm Emanuel that got you so heated in that news conference that Corey's talking about?
Well, I think we all agree, and everybody agrees, that the city, the state, and our country is facing a crisis, a financial crisis, really. And there has to be an approach of partnership, an equal partnership, if we're going to solve these problems with the city of Chicago. And we believe we have that with Gery Chico. Gery is not going to be a guy that's going to roll over and just give us what we would want, and nor should he. But Gery will listen to our ideas, our opinions. Rahm Emanuel, on the opposite, has proven himself to be a divisive figure when it comes to negotiations, especially. I mean, you can go back to NAFTA when he ran the war room for the Clinton administration, and guys like Luis Gutierrez will tell you that he was the man that pushed them and threatened them and whatever he had to do to get his way. I mean, his approach is really, his finger in your chest as opposed to sitting back and negotiating, which is what we believe we have to do fairly and as a partner if we're going to get through this crisis.
You told us as you sat down that you were working the phone banks this weekend.
All this weekend, yes.
And do you think you and organized labor in general that support Chico can really make a difference here and prevent Rahm Emanuel from getting that 50% plus one a week from tomorrow?
These are the same polls that we saw in the Quinn election, and he was behind Brady double digits right up to that last week. We see that same thing now. What I see, and from the neighborhood I live in on the southwest side of Chicago, all I see is Chico signs. And you go to the northwest side, and it's the same thing. But signs don't vote. And it's the members and the friends and their families who vote, and those are the people we're talking to, those working class families of the city of Chicago, union or non-union, that understand that we're all in this together.
Jim, let me just make sure we're clear, though. Rahm Emanuel did respond to you, and he said, well, look, these are tough times, and we got to make sure that union employees are answerable to the people who are paying the bills. Do you agree that some changes need to be made to, like, our pension systems and other kinds of concessions on wages and things like that?
Well, my members and most of the city employees have taken a 10% pay cut since we put this furlough system in place. At the same time, those furloughs were put in place to avoid layoffs, but the city got their layoffs through attrition. So they got their cuts and their attrition and the rollbacks, and we've agreed to 2 years in the building trades of 2 years of wage freezes on top of that. There's only so much that you can give. We have to look at some other innovative ways to maybe approach this. On the pension side, we've given some ideas out there on this gambling license that should come to the city of Chicago. We believe that should be an asset of the pensions. The city owes the pensions $2.5 billion that they haven't paid, as the city employees have paid their contribution. The city has not paid theirs. Now, if this license is going to come to the city of Chicago, let's start with that. And let's start the city putting something into the game, and then then we can go back to our members and say, listen, it's not going to be all one way. There's going to be some give and take on both sides.
All right. Jim Sweeney, thank you. Local 150, you represent 23,000 union employees. Thank you for sharing your thoughts with us this morning.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming in, Jim. So